Welcome to Liminal Writing.
Liminal Writing is me and Lee grabbing on some quote from somewhere, whether it's a magazine or a book,
Yeah.
and then we use it as a or song, even with a poem trigger for writing for 10 minutes. So 10 minutes time writing in a free flow, wherever it takes us. After that, we read it to each other, sharing that with you now.
So for today, when Sess and I connected, we thought we haven't found an inspiration about food in the last few episodes. We both love to eat. We both love, exploring different cuisines and cooking. So we said, why don't we go back and see how that is possible, how it energizes us. I found this. This is my regular library haul. And it's the May episode 2025 from Bon Appétit Magazine. And I was, glancing through the pages and I landed on the article called Pintxos Possibility. Pintxos are the tapas from the Basque part of Spain. And so it's a line that we picked up from an article written by Jennifer Hope Choi. Go and have a read. It's an interesting essay. I found it helpful and made me a little bit hungry for some of the things she was writing about. The line that we agreed upon as our inspiration line for today is fumbling through our rudimentary talk reminded me of the last time I felt adrift between languages at my grandfather's funeral. The most basic words escaped me. So, Seth, please
Oh,
lead
it
us
didn't
into your
in the end
reading.
become what I wrote. I speak Tagalog and
Yeah.
English fluently, I think, in both languages. Sometimes I also think with the third language, Ilonggo, a legacy from my childhood and family roots in the Western Visayas region of the Philippines. So, feeling adrift between languages is a space, a feeling, a state that I can easily slide into. It is my version of quote unquote words escape, but it is also my version of I do not want to think of this right now. I do not want to label and give words to it. Sometimes, too, I am just so tired of having to explain myself or find words to explain a crazy world that in this space between languages is a hammock I can snuggle myself into, with its rope ends swinging from the edges of words I have deliberately escaped to, so I can be in this in between space. That's where it landed with your chin.
Okay, here's mine. In a way, it's walking a similar path to what you had started. I'm trying to remember the last time I felt adrift between languages. A faint memory of running around during my father's burial, between chairs, around stanchions, between wisps of black and white worn by relatives and my parents' friends, and the decaying flowers attempting to perk one last time. There was a moment in my 9-year old's mind that I thought I probably should not be moving around energetically during these sad times. But moving was how I coped. I continued, then slowed down as the coffin lowered, the new big emotions bursting through my chest and head, the language of grief and the words of the unknown ahead. So, kind of similar to yours. It doesn't talk about food, but as in
It's just
some
very
cases for liminal writing sessions, the words spur us into a different headspace and heart space, right? You want to talk a little bit about yours?
only like the image of the hammock. I'm needing so much of that kind of spacing out
Mm,
right now.
yeah.
Just
And the comfort of the back and forth.
swaying out together and then no chaos. I think we had a conversation a couple of days
Yeah.
ago where so many things are happening, not so good things in the world, whether it's the threat of war, the displacement of communities, the retracting of rights of populations who have fought their place in society. So maybe that's where I was coming from with that. I don't want to about this right now, but I do need to do it every day with my work. Let's go back to having a trigger line that's coming from was about food, so that we just kind of focus on food and because it always gives spark of joy to think or
Yeah.
about food.
Mm.
But right now, I guess liminal writing does to us, right? It kind of takes you where you need to go at the moment or what you need to express.
It colors the external things around us, right? The ones that are supposedly quote unquote out of our control.
Yeah,
Colors our inner life too, right?
yeah,
We can't that can't be helped.
yeah.
We're participating in the world and we're helping shape the world, especially in your case, in ways that is both, both I think these are the words that come to my mind. Monumental
Oh,
and yet
Lord,
infestissimo
the word.
in the work that you're doing. Right? It's that kind of swing of both energy and big thinking in public health, in governance, in sexual
A
health
lot of great
reproduction, in
words.
gender
A lot of
justice work. That's why I said it's both the monumental work that you're doing and yet the
wonderful.
slow churn that you're also needing to make that huge
And
impact.
for
And
yours, talk more about where that came
yeah, from the trigger line, I zeroed in on the word funeral,
when your dad
right?
passed, you were quite young.
I was 9. So, that's close to 6 decades ago. But those kinds of memories, the actions and words that were done in our younger years have a strong hold on it. I think the memories that I have as a child are more vivid than the
Oh,
ones that were like in
really?
the 20s too. Like
Oh,
kind of
wow.
weird. Because of course 20 is much more closer. I mean, I can remember key things that I did,
The vivid one.
experiences I had.
Yeah.
But when you talk about
Oh,
something,
that's
yeah,
interesting.
the more vivid ones are the ones that were so much more closer to the birth date. Maybe just because as a child, you're much more expansive and open to the unknown. There's less fear, I think. So maybe the memories that we create when we're in our teens, 20s, 30s are already colored by some of the, both joyful and hurtful things. So maybe that's why some memories are muted as a way for us to survive and thrive. There's kind of like curating already in your heart and mind about what are the things to really remember and what are the things that, you know, I can push to
I
the
was listening
archives of my
intently to
brain.
that because I actually have a different experience of the same thing. Because remember, I have a trauma.
Yeah.
I experienced child sexual abuse at a young age. In my case, it is the early
Mm.
years. I don't remember
Yeah.
details. So I think it's
Yeah.
just everything to listen
Yeah.
when you're writing about it with such vividness of the image and you could almost recreate the feeling of being there because that's what I meant
Yeah.
that I have in childhood. Because as you said, if you're
Very
the
good.
blurry years were the 20s, because maybe it was very coping in my case. And I think in a lot of people who had similar life journeys as mine, it's the early years that blur out because that was the way
Yeah.
for your childhood brain s- to cope and push it to,
Mm.
to push it out of your
Yeah.
consciousness so that you can just carry on with life. So, yeah, but I was really listening to it intently and I was like, oh, I could almost relive it with you. I wouldn't have that kind of detail. Although I have
Yeah.
snippets that come out in some of our writing, and it's mostly the snippets are like just
Yes.
images, moments where I felt. And then
Yeah.
it would usually be moments where I feel like it's safer, like on top of a guava tree, and how it felt like a story or a movement within the brain.
Yeah.
So you lost your dad at a very young age, and he must have been young too.
Papa was 45. I was 9, and Gugay was just about to
It's
turn
wow.
5. I was brought to the hospital when he passed away of a heart attack. So when he had the attack, he was
Wow.
at work. He was able to drive himself home. When he got home, Mama called
Just
the ambulance. Once he was settled in the hospital, they brought myself and Googs there, but I think it was more of me because I was an older child. Yeah. And then I'm not sure if it was 2 days or just one day after that. He passed away 2 days before my mom's birthday. There was a flurry of emotions and
your
activity
what came out of
around.
the
So,
writing and how you
yeah.
describe that to is nearer to where I think the context of where the quote came from, right? The quote was about feeling adrift between languages
Mm,
of the author's grandfathers. I think in grief, it's very much
yeah.
also, I know, that space where you really don't have words, right? Grief and pain and all. It's so funny because,
That's where our
yeah,
episode today
so
lands
much
us.
for, I don't feel pulled down by it. And then I guess that's what writing does too.
Yeah. I think that's what's freeing about how we created liminal writing is that when we choose a inspiration line or a trigger line, uh, I don't think we've built barriers to say, okay, we need to take our writing
No, no,
as close
we
as we
don't have
can
those
to
rules
what the author had
wherever.
intended. So it could take us further away in years or in locations or bring us as close as we're able to in the moment that we're writing, closest to what the writing is all about. I think that speaks to how unique we all are. It's because we filter the
Mhm.
lines through our own experiences and to
Right
how
at the
we
moment.
are in our
So
state
maybe those
is in at
we
the moment.
can encourage you or who's listening at the moment. Maybe try some liminal writing and
Yeah.
pick out a line
Yeah.
or borrow one, give it a go yourself. 10 minutes. It's not gonna be
Mhm.
forever. Just give it 10 minutes to just breathe low. And on that note, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Until the next time.
See you next time. Bye now.